Greetings! My name is Brad Hessel, and I am running for North Carolina Senate in District 18 in 2018. Let me tell you a bit about who I am. I was born in Manhattan and raised in Westchester County, which is just north of New York City. Went to public school in Tarrytown, New York, up to about 10th grade, followed by private schools in New England for 6 years, and then carved out a career in technical documentation, training, and simulation design back in New York City. Got married in 1980 to Madge Cohen of Baltimore, a good friend of my college roommate. My family moved from Brooklyn, New York to Raleigh in 1992, along with a software and services startup I co-founded. There were 5 of us then, my wife and I, plus 3 kids aged 7, 5, and 2. Later that decade, the startup went public but then foundered. In 1999, I started my own knowledge management practice. Okay, knowledge management basically consists of helping organizations to collect, organize, and redistribute information in ways that enhance their ability to do business. After a quarter century, we're still living in the same North Ridge house, but the population's down to 3, Madge and I, and Mustafa, a cat who adopted us a decade or so back. Since about the age of 17, I've been an adherent of the Platinum Rule: treat others the way they want to be treated. Accordingly, I have usually opposed U.S. military interventions, started out as a peace Democrat working for George McGovern against Richard Nixon in 71-72. As I grew older and accrued a mortgage and cost obligations for my kids' education, I became more conservative fiscally. I had already quit the Democrats in disgust over their divisive identity politics in 1984, but I became increasingly unhappy with the Republicans, whose financial profligacy when they were in power was just too much. Read my lips, no new taxes? Yeah, right. The botched invasions of Afghanistan and Iraq were the final straws, and I switched my registration to independent. Once I got married, I became less politically active and focused on family and career. And once we moved to Raleigh, soccer organizing. I managed the high school subdivision of the rec division of the Capital Area Soccer League, which consisted of 3 or 4 dozen teams in Wake County. I still play on an over 50 tassel team. In fact, that's where I'm headed when I finish this video. By 2008, the kids were all off to college or beyond, and that was the year I discovered Ron Paul. His platform of social tolerance, fiscal responsibility, and non-intervention was music to my ears. His presidential campaign enticed me to volunteer to do political work for the first time since the John Anderson campaign, 1980, I think. I was on board again with Dr. Paul in 2012, and after the GOP wouldn't even let him speak at their convention, transitioning to work for Gary Johnson, who by then had gained the Libertarian nomination and was championing most of the same issues, well, it seemed like the right course. One of the Johnson campaign leaders here in North Carolina connected me with the Wake County Libertarian Party. And in March 2013, they elected me treasurer. They had not been doing much fundraising, an average of fewer than $400 a year over the previous 10 years. But in the past few years, we have ramped that up considerably. Brought some show and tell. Here we have a chart which shows how the Wake County Libertarian Party has done. As you can see, of late, it's been doing fairly well. There's an asterisk here by 2018 because the year is only half over, so even though we're already ahead of 2017, hopefully it'll be a little bit steeper by the time the year ends. So, in 2016, we were recruiting candidates to run for the North Carolina General Assembly here in Wake County. We had run 0 candidates in 2014, so we were starting from ground zero. And I think at one point we had 13 people who had expressed some level of interest out of the 16 possible total candidates we could field. However, as the deadline for filing and paying $207 in a filing fee came closer and closer, some of those folks started dropping out. We ended up with 7. I had recruited a person to run for North Carolina House and a person to run for North Carolina Senate in my own district. But with a week to go before the deadline, the Senate candidate dropped out. So, if you have ever had the experience of coaching a kids' sports team, you can appreciate it's 38 degrees, the kids are running around in their shorts on the field, and you, on the sideline, cannot be in a parka because it's not right to be asking folks to do something that you are not willing to do yourself. I had made the speech 50 times to various people in the past few weeks, encouraging them to run, why it was important for them to run as libertarians. It was going to take time and energy, and they probably weren't going to win, but it would give folks a choice besides the 2 establishment party candidates, and so on, right? So when my Senate candidate dropped out, I would have felt pretty hypocritical if I didn't pick up the baton, and that's what I did. First time I'd run for office since freshman year of college. So I ended up with 5,081 votes. And if you cast one of those votes, by the way, thanks for your support. That amounted to about 4% of the total, not bad for someone who wasn't planning to run. Although I was 13 votes short of matching the difference between my establishment party opponents, which is what I was really aiming for. I'm trying hard to improve on that performance in 2018. I've got a better business card this time. Oh yeah, my business card. See, we're using 4 colors this year. I clean up pretty nicely. I'm raising funds to print door hangers and yard signs, neither of which I could afford in 2016. And I am hoping to spend more time canvassing in coordination with some of the other libertarian candidates on the ballot in Wake County this year, which, by the way, amounts to twice as many as we fielded in 2016. We have 14 on the ballot this year. But my main objective in running is to focus as much of the campaign dialogue as possible on seriously addressing 21st century issues that affect us all, rather than on toxic political and social arguments that only serve to divide us, of which there is much too much. To that end, I've got some suggestions you're probably not going to hear from the other candidates. Or if I really do my job well by the end of the campaign, maybe you will hear some of them from the other guys. So please, take a few minutes and check out my website at electbradhessel.org. And if you like what you see, then please vote for me for North Carolina Senate in District 18. I am Brad Hessel, and I approve this message.